Katie McNally had just lost a brutal three-set battle to Alex Eala in Toronto. She walked into the post-match press conference visibly frustrated, and the atmosphere immediately felt different. Everyone was watching her closely. The loss was still fresh. Nobody knew exactly how McNally was going to explain what had just happened on center court. Would she blame the crowd? Would she point toward the controversial umpire decision? Would she make excuses? Nobody expected what came next. McNally explained what she believed changed the momentum of the match. She talked about the disputed call and how she felt it gave Eala an extra boost. But then she surprised everyone. Instead of simply blaming the umpire, McNally praised Alex Eala for staying composed when the pressure was at its highest. So what really happened between these two players, and how did Eala turn a match that seemed to be slipping away into another huge victory? Let's go back to the beginning. The atmosphere at the National Bank Open in Toronto was already incredible. Philippine flags filled the stands, and the crowd was heavily behind Eala. For McNally, it was a difficult environment, but she arrived with plenty of confidence after a major win over Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova. She knew she could compete, and early in the match, she showed it. Eala started aggressively, using her left-handed game to create difficult angles and force McNally into uncomfortable positions. Then Eala found another gear. She won 5 consecutive games and took the opening set 6-3. The crowd erupted, and Eala looked firmly in control. But McNally refused to panic. The second set completely changed the match. Eala began struggling with her right ankle and needed a medical timeout. Her ankle was heavily taped, and her movement was clearly affected. McNally immediately saw the opportunity. She began moving Eala around the court, forcing her to change direction and making her injured ankle work harder. The strategy worked. McNally took control of the set and eventually won it 7-5. Suddenly, the match was level, 1 set each. McNally had the momentum. Eala had the injury, and the American was now only 1 set away from victory. But Eala wasn't finished. Before the deciding set, the tape was removed from her ankle, and she began moving more freely. Her aggression returned. So did her confidence. Eala quickly moved ahead 3-1. For a moment, it looked like she had regained control, but McNally fought back. She leveled the set at 3-3. And suddenly, everything was on the line. Neither player wanted to give anything away. Then came the moment that would become one of the biggest talking points after the match: a disputed umpire decision. For McNally, the timing was crucial. She later explained that she felt the decision changed the momentum, and in her view, Eala gained extra confidence after that moment. The atmosphere became even louder. The Toronto crowd was completely behind Eala. But instead of allowing the controversy to distract her, Eala used the energy. She stayed aggressive, she kept attacking, and she began winning the biggest points. Eala held serve and moved ahead 5-3. McNally continued fighting, but Eala had found another level. Soon, Eala closed out the deciding set 6-4. The crowd exploded. She had survived the injury, the comeback, the pressure, and the controversy. But the biggest surprise came afterward. McNally entered the press conference frustrated. She had been 1 set away from winning. She had taken advantage of Eala's ankle problem. She had fought back after losing the first set, and she believed the disputed call had affected the momentum. Still, McNally didn't turn the entire loss into an excuse. She explained that she had been satisfied with important parts of her performance during the first 2 sets. She believed her strategy was working and that she had created a real opportunity to win. But then she gave Eala credit. McNally acknowledged that Eala remained composed when the pressure was highest. She recognized that Eala took advantage of the important moments, and she admitted that Eala played extremely well when the match mattered most. That makes her reaction especially interesting. Yes, McNally was frustrated. Yes, she believed the disputed call changed the momentum, but she also understood that Eala still had to finish the job. The call didn't win the match by itself. Eala had to recover from the ankle problem. She had to respond after losing the second set. She had to stop McNally's comeback, and she had to close the deciding set. She did all of it. That's why this victory is bigger than the final score. Eala didn't win because everything went perfectly. Things actually went wrong. She lost momentum. She dealt with an injury. Her opponent came back, and the deciding set became extremely tense, yet Eala still found a way through. This victory also continued her incredible run of form. Eala advanced to the round of 16 at the Canadian Open, one of the biggest WTA 1000 events. She also reached 10 wins in her last 11 matches, dating back to Wimbledon, and that is beginning to change the way people look at her. She is no longer simply a young player with potential. She is becoming a serious competitor who can survive difficult matches against strong opponents. Toronto also showed just how much support Eala now has. The Filipino community came out in huge numbers. Philippine flags were everywhere. The cheers were enormous, and tournament officials had highlighted the extraordinary demand surrounding Eala, showing how quickly her popularity has grown. For many Filipino fans in Canada, this wasn't just another tennis match. It felt like a homecoming. McNally had already noticed Eala's growing impact before the match, talking about how remarkable it was to see her attracting such attention and helping fill stadiums. Now she experienced that atmosphere from the other side of the net. But the crowd didn't win the match for Eala. The fans gave her energy, but she still had to play every point. She still had to manage her ankle. She still had to recover after losing the second set, and she still had to perform when the pressure became enormous. That's what makes McNally's comments so important. She could have focused entirely on the umpire. She could have blamed the crowd. Instead, she acknowledged Eala's performance. She recognized her composure. She recognized her ability to handle pressure. And she recognized that Eala was the player who delivered when it mattered most. That may be the biggest takeaway from this match. Alex Eala didn't win because everything went her way. She won because when things went against her, she found a way to fight back. The ankle problem didn't stop her. Losing the second set didn't break her. McNally's comeback didn't finish her, and the controversial moment didn't distract her. She kept fighting, she kept attacking, and she finished the match. Katie McNally left Toronto disappointed, but her reaction also showed something important. Alex Eala is earning respect from the players she faces, and perhaps that's the clearest sign yet that her rise is becoming real. The question now isn't whether Eala belongs at this level. She has already shown that she does. The bigger question is how far this momentum can take her. Because if she continues playing with this kind of resilience, composure, and confidence, the rest of the WTA Tour will have to pay very close attention. Toronto gave Alex Eala another major test, and once again, she found a way through. McNally's reaction revealed the controversy, but her praise revealed something even more important. Alex Eala is becoming a player opponent's respect, and that could be one of the biggest stories of her rise. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to Tennis Hive and turn on notifications, because Alex Eala's journey is far from over, and the next chapter could be even bigger.